horn, and wipers. The wipers have an automatic intermittent setting controlled by the rain sensor, alleviating the aggravation of continually adjusting to synchronize with the rainfall. The dashboard incorporates the speedometer, fuel and AdBlue gauge, system active indicator lamps, rev counter, and the pressure of the lowest tank 1 or 2. The information panel in the center of the dash gives you information on the vehicle systems and displays any settings you've entered, such as cruise and limiter settings. It'll also alert you of any event that you should be aware of. Yellow is advisory and should be looked at as soon as possible. This also will show should any fluid levels require attention. Red you need to look at immediately. And red with the stop warning light means stop safely. Pressing the dash button here clears the event to the memory until corrected. The information panel works in conjunction with the multifunction steering wheel. Pressing the chapter button will scroll through 12 chapters, and the up-down accesses the pages within each chapter. The main and more driver-relevant chapters are kept to the front. So, Chapter 1, Info, displays a digital speed readout and the time and date. Chapter 2, Monitoring Info, displays AdBlue level, page to coolant temperature, air pressure, and page 4, oil level, which if low will show the quantity required. Chapter 3, Trip Computer, containing fuel information and driving hours. And page 3, Fuel level. The remaining chapters are Chapter 4, Audio Information, Chapter 5, Telephone, which can display your contact numbers, Chapter 6, Text Message Display, Chapter 7, Maintenance Information, Chapter 8, Event Information such as stored warnings, Chapter 9, Auxiliary Heating, where you can set the temperature and timer settings for the heater, Chapter 10, Alarm, Chapter 11, Language, and finally Chapter 12, Settings. Full details of each section can be found in the driver's handbook. The standard gear system on the Actros is the proven and reliant PowerShift 2 automated gear shift system. It is fast and will always give you the right gear for the conditions at that time, both for performance and economy. To operate, depress the function button on the right and move the lever forward, allowing PowerShift 2 to take control. Neutral is selected by the button here, and reverse by using the function button and moving the lever back. We'll be looking at this in more detail out on the road. The handbrake has a test position to ensure the unit alone can hold the full gross combination. Push down and pull back, which releases the trailer brakes. And if holding firmly, you can be confident to park up on an incline. So, handing over to our demonstration driver, who will show the main features we've covered out on the road.
Okay, let's couple the truck to the trailer. Select manoeuvring mode on the dashboard. It automatically brings it into first gear, but we actually want to go in reverse. So just straight back, function button in, and reverse gear, and we'll go under the trailer. Manoeuvring mode will limit you to 1000 RPM, so full throttle travel is 1000 RPM because you're real safe and controlled manoeuvring of the vehicle. So just straight forward again, just to check that the coupling's secure. Okay, that's the trailer safely coupled up and checked. Let's get out on the road now. Turn the ignition on and let the vehicle go through its self-checks first. So all the warning lights on the dashboard are extinguished. Then you'll be able to start the vehicle. Just takes a few seconds, but while we're waiting for that to happen, let's go through the gear shift. Function button on this side, neutral button on this side. To select a gear, simply push the button in and push the lever forward, and that will select a forward gear, the correct gear to set off in. If we want to go in reverse, again, function button in, pull the lever backwards, and that will select the correct reverse gear. If we want to come out of gear to go into neutral, simply push this button in, that will automatically select neutral. Now if you're driving on the road using the engine brake, you want to get the revs up, simply just pull the lever back and that'll bring the revs up. It won't allow you to over rev, but it will keep it in the high part of the yellow band to get the maximum possible engine braking. Okay, let's go for a drive. Function button in, lever forward, and away we go. Okay, now we're up to speed. Just a couple of things to go through. Start with the rev counter, broken down into 3 zones: green zone, the yellow zone and the red zone. Now the green zone's where we want to drive most of the time, because that's where we're going to get the best possible fuel consumption, the best possible economy. The yellow zone's okay when we're engine braking, because we want to get the engine revs into that area to give us the maximum possible engine braking. And then the red zone, where we just don't want to go there. Now when we're moving along, the best thing we can do is get it onto cruise control again as soon as we can, because that again will give us best possible fuel consumption. And maybe when we're in city traffic or heavy traffic, let's use the speed limiter, because that just leaves you to concentrate on the driving and not worry about the speed. Final thing to use all the time, use the engine brake and the exhaust brake to slow the vehicle down. Again, that turns the fuel consumption off, or the fuel off on the vehicle, therefore saving you fuel. So coming down to a roundabout, no need to use the foot brake, we can use the engine brake and the exhaust brake. So first stage is the exhaust brake. That's just going to hold us back nicely. If we want a little bit more, just pull the lever back. Don't be scared of pulling it back, because we want to get the revs up into the yellow zone on the rev counter, and that'll start to slow the vehicle down. And just to give even more braking effect, we've brought the second stage in. That's bringing the engine brake in and just bringing it down again to keep that braking going. Still haven't used the foot brake. Nice and gentle into the roundabout. And that's the engine brake. Once we finish with it, turn it off. Okay, we've got a nice straight piece of road in front, so let's use the cruise control function. Bring the vehicle up to the speed that you want to travel at, and simply raise the right hand stalk. That engages the cruise control. If you want to increase or decrease the speed, either raising it will bring it up 1/2 kilometre, and pushing it down will decrease it by 1/2 kilometre. To disengage the cruise control, simply push the stalk all the way to the top, or touch the foot brake. Okay, it's roundabout ahead, so we're in cruise control, but we're going to use the engine brake, the exhaust brake to slow the vehicle down. So let's engage the exhaust brake, first stage first. Gear down to bring the revs up. It's nice and safe. Okay, negotiate the roundabout now. No traffic, so in through the roundabout. Still with the engine brake on, but now release the engine brake and automatically we resume the cruise control. A nice feature. Another nice feature is, even when you've turned the ignition off on the vehicle, the values that you've stored for both the cruise control and the speed limiter will be retained by the vehicle. Another great system on this truck is a system called Eco-Roll. Now that's going to save you a bit of fuel. The system always defaults to on when you turn the ignition on, and you can tell it's working by the E in the gear shift display. The vehicle effectively will select neutral, but that's nothing to worry about, because simply using the exhaust brake, the engine brake, the foot brake, or just using the throttle will re-engage a gear. A couple of parameters need to be met, however. You need to be in either 11th or 12th gear, you need to be doing more than 45 kilometers an hour, and the variable part of the cruise control has to be over 4 kilometers an hour. Should you not like the system, or you want to switch the system off, simply use the button on the dashboard. You'll see the E disappear on the gear shift display. That's Eco-Roll disengaged, but Eco-Roll, as soon as you turn the ignition off and restart the vehicle, Eco-Roll will be back on again. Part of the cruise control system is a speed limiter function. Really simple to operate. You toggle between cruise control and speed limiter on the end of the right hand column stalk, and the display will change on the dashboard between cruise control and limiter, or it says lim. Get to the speed that you do not want to exceed and simply raise the stalk. You've now engaged the limiter. The vehicle will not now exceed that speed, leaving you free to concentrate on the road ahead. However, should conditions change and you need to accelerate, there's no need to disengage it, just simply kick the throttle down through the resistance and that overrides the limiter. Okay, we're going to come to a halt here on the hill. Now, to make your life a bit easier on the hill, we've got a nice feature on the vehicle. We've got a system called Hill Hold. Mounted here on the dashboard, you need to turn it on, but once it's on, it can be left on, that's fine. And then simply release your foot from the foot brake. The truck will hold the brakes for a couple of seconds,